hope everybody could have a day like today where you're sitting down at a table with a really super friend and get to taste 6 Ardbegs. And not just any Ardbegs, but committee releases.
Fancy Ardbegs.
Fancy, fancy ass Ardbegs. Hi, I'm Leanne, and this is Scotch on the Bayou, where we explore the wonders of Scotch whiskey and the flavor of life in Louisiana. And today we are at the camp, yes, hallelujah, and with my great friend Jennifer from my buddy from the Islay Whisky Academy. He lives just down I-10 in Houston, and she is over for the weekend and girls' night with a whiskey, and we're talking about Ardbeg. Jennifer was so terribly generous to bring over some of her Ardbeg collection of committee releases. And so what we're going to do is kind of walk through these and just talk about what we're getting off the nose, what we're getting off the palate. It's not so much one better than the other, and I think that's what a lot of people think, is that one better than this one? Is 2022 going to be better than 2019? They're all good. They're all Ardbeg. And taste is personal. So what might not light you up on one may very well do it for you on another. So how about let's introduce each of these bottles?
Let's.
Okay.
And then let's taste them.
Yes, because the tasting is the most important part. We're going to start off with the Ardbeg 10.
Classic. Yeah. Just kind of a benchmark, maybe sort of just a baseline.
Anybody should be able to get the 10. The rest of these...
So good. The 10 for the money, the 10 is just... Such a good bottle.
I mean, even in Louisiana, this is probably like a $55 bottle, but like over in Houston, you can get them for under $50
probably.
Usually.
I would say so, yeah.
And it's just solid. It's such a good bottle. And it's actually one of the beginner whiskeys that I suggest if you are so inclined to jump into peat. So take a look at that video. I'll link in the description. And then our next, because it's a bourbon, is a oh my, it is a 20-something, the 22-year-old, which I'm so excited to have. And then our next offering would be Mickey Head's last offering at Ardbeg, and that would be Arrrdbeg. So that's really going to be a lot of fun.
Rye cask conversion.
Right, yes. A little spice. Okay, what are our last 3?
Our last 3, so here's the Blaaack Committee Release. It's got a cute little sheep on it, and it's finished in New Zealand Pinot Noir casks. Love this bottle, by the way. The next to last one, which is also super exciting because this is not easy to find anymore. This is Ardbog. I think that was a 2013 committee release. It's got some bourbon and sherry maturation, more specifically Manzanilla sherry. And then the last one is the Scorch, which is what the most recent, until the fermentation comes out this year, right? And Scorch is extra super special because any Ardbeg nerd who knows alligator and who has gotten to try alligator knows that it was made in the most heavily of charred barrels.
Alligator's charred.
This is in the alligator barrels, which is super cool. So great lineup. So look at the color differences. You've got the bourbons, the rye's light, and then check out that sherry.
Oof.
The Pinot's definitely got some color on it than the sherry.
And that's the Ardbog, right?
The bog is the sherry, yeah.
The bog's the sherry.
Just call it the bog.
The bog. The bog. The bog is the sherry. Oh, yes, yeah. Okay. And then I think you probably get some color.
You'd have to.
From the charred cask. Yeah. Even though it was bourbon, I would guess you could get some off of that. It's not really light, but man, yeah, there's a pronounced difference between the sherry from the Ardbog and the rest.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty much your last. So we got the 10 here, and and the Ardbog with the sherry finish, Manzanilla. We know that these are no color added.
Correct.
On all these, and non-chill filtered.
It's the lowest ABV. I mean, they tend to bottle at, the 10's 46%, right? So they tend to bottle.
So now comes the fun part. Let's do some nosing and some tasting. And again, we're not here to say, well, this one's better than that one. We're here to just give folks an idea of what to expect from each of these offerings.
Especially on barrel finish, that's a really fun part.
Yeah.
That's good old 10.
Yeah, oh man.
The 10's fruity, but I mean, it's not like...
It's not like tropical, really.
The drum was so tropical.
Yeah.
Yeah, those... I mean, you've got the smokiness and the iodine, but there's still just that nice sweetness component.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you have a lineup of them, I just like to take small sips and go down the line because it really just having that sort of point of comparison as you like visit and revisit, you can really just almost pick up things that maybe you hadn't thought about because you're comparing it to a different whiskey.
It's the finish on this. I don't know that I remember it being kind of dry like that.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Needs to be all nice and warm and cozy.
It's nice. This is a staple on my bar. I mean,
never disappoints.
You just keep a 10 on the bar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got a bit of fruit, but it's not overtly sweet.
No.
You can very much tell it's a bourbon finished expression. There's some vanillas, a little, a little sweetness, but you're not going to get your butterscotchy kind of...
Not at all.
At all on that.
I'd like a dram of this with some smoked salmon myself.
Ooh, that would be... Because you could get the sweet off of the salmon, for sure. And that's, yeah. Cool.
I love food, so I'm always thinking about, hey, what could I eat with this?
And she's a trained chef, so she knows food.
I mean, I think I do.
You definitely do. And so our next one that we're going to look at is a real treasure because it is the 20-something series and it's the 22-year-old. Tell us about this one.
This one is the 20, so this came out distilled in 1996, came out in 2018. There's been a couple releases of this one. So this happens to be the one that was released in 2018. And I guess what's cool about these is, Ardbeg was mothballed like in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I guess they kept the stills running, like to make sure they didn't fall into, disuse or anything like that. So, I guess there was a little bit of whiskey being made during that time. And, this is that whiskey. So this comes from a time when, like, Ardbeg's fate hung in the balance, And so, I guess Glenmorangie came along in 1996 and picked him up and helped bring him back to life. And, now the whole thing's owned by the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy group.
Yeah.
And Ardbeg is clearly thriving now. But that's what's special about the 20-somethings is they come from a time when the distillery was, like, kind of shut down. And there could have possibly been no more Ardbeg in the world. I could not imagine a world with no Ardbeg.
How could that be?
I don't know.
Certainly the world would spin off as excess.
I think so.
I really feel bad for y'all not being able to spill this and have it. Oh my heavens. So what are you getting on the nose?
Wow. So, so the 20-something is all ex-bourbon. Yeah. Do you get more of the, like, I get a little bit more of the toasty, almost butterscotchy, right? Like sweetness from the bourbon.
There's night and day difference between, I love the 10, but
the 10's
in the sweetness level is night and day.
Yes, because the 10, like, I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to keep them side by side. This is where I like to compariate, as my dad always said. Let's compariate them.
Good dad.
I know. And there's always that kind of salty, peppery, thing going on the 10, and because like the peat's still there, but it was the same thing like with that Coolila we had last night. The peat's still there, but it softens, it gives way to other flavors once it's got some age on it.
Yeah, the age really tempers it.
Yes.
It, and especially for those who aren't used to drinking peated whiskeys, it's very in your face. It can be very abrupt and abrasive. Some even say it's harsh. You put some age on that, and that just mellows almost to the point of not being there. It's definitely here, but really, really old peated whiskeys don't really hold that. They don't hold that harshness at all.
Right. Do you get a little bit of like a soft, like on the palate? Because obviously it's not just smoke. It's a little bit older. Like I get almost like a soft, like satsuma, like a nice fresh, like not a tart lemon or lime, but I just get like a soft, almost orangey kind of.
Not really dreamsicle, not that sweet, but
not
like
that
a tangerine.
Sweet. Right, that kind. Or maybe I'm
more on the finish. I do.
Yes.
More of that satsuma kind of orangey, but not tart. It's more.
Yeah.
It's like a medium sweet.
It is.
Yeah, I could get that, but very dry.
Still is. Yeah.
Very dry.
Mm-hmm.
Nice spicy finish, without being too abrupt. Just pretty mellow, but not light and not weak. Not weak at all.
Definitely not weak at all.
Dang. So the third iteration would be Ardbeg. And tell us about this one.
This was the last bottle that was made under the guidance of Mickey Heads right before he retired. So, very cute. He's dressed like a pirate. He's got Shorty on his shoulder. It's quite adorable. Bottled at 51.8. What else? Sorry, I'm just like looking at the cute bottle art and getting distracted.
So the finish on this one is
rye.
This is the rye. Or we say down here in the side, it's the rye.
That's cute. Yo ho ho in a bottle of Ardbeg.
Yes, please.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, have you had a lot of rye finished whiskey? I don't know that I have.
Not a whole lot, no. And I like rye. I like the spice of a rye, probably more than just a regular straight bourbon. And I know I've got friends who are going, but that's okay because it's my palate, and that's what makes the world goes around. So Ardbeg. Getting a lot more malt on this.
Do you get kind of like a little banana situation going on?
Yeah, definitely get the esters that are associated with the banana, but not really the tropical fruit or anything. Just pretty much banana.
Very light too, color-wise, really light.
Yeah. I'm anticipating a lot of spice.
I think, yeah. I wonder where the barrel's from. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder which distillery they got the rye barrel from. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I don't know who they partner with so much.
Yeah.
So not too spicy on the very front end, but that finish.
Ooh.
Finish is like, hey, I'm gonna hang around here for a little bit. I mean, definitely so. I mean, it's.
Wow, yeah. It's still got a good bit of sweetness when you taste it, but that spice on the end is like.
Certainly, by far, the spicier.
Absolutely.
Of any of them.
I mean, you could try a couple drops of water in this just to see what it did, maybe. But you're not going to escape that rye spiciness. No,
I mean, the water, you would have to really water it down. But the spice isn't overwhelming.
No,
it's
not
just, it's a heat spice and mid palate, kind of a, not too much of a cinnamon, more like a ginger for me, like a ginger root kind of spice. Oh man, that's delightful.
Okay, guess what's next? Blaaack.
Now we're getting into some wine finishes.
Blaaack.
Oh my heavens, the nose.
Full disclosure, I love this bottle.
Oh my heavens! So we just opened this bottle, so we're sniffing the neck pour. This is New Zealand Pinot Noir.
I honestly
finish, and it is as if you opened up a bottle of wine to smell.
I love a good wine cask finish.
Holy
on
moly!
Whiskey. Yeah, this is
just juicy fruits and
but like ashy, also like ashy cherry, you know. Mm-hmm. You get the red fruit. You get a nice little bit of nuttiness.
And almost a grassy tone on the end.
Mm-hmm. This is bottled at. This is 50.7%. So if you wanted to maybe add a drop or two of water to this to see what it did, you could as well.
It's very interesting.
I think this one's great. Too bad. So I have an unopened Grooves at home, and that was also red wine cask finish. Don't remember what, right? Like, was it was it a California Cab cask? Was it a Bordeaux cask? No idea. But I know the Grooves had some red wine finish on it. I'd have to go back and see what that cask treatment was, but it could be kind of fun to try the Grooves and the Blaaack together, you know?
That would be.
Since they're both a red wine finished Ardbeg. Yeah.
So, from the nose, I would figure it is far sweeter on the palate, but for me it is not. I mean, there's sweetness there, but it's not overtly sweet, and
it's just more fruit forward, right?
Yeah. And again, you've got some spice in the mid palate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the finish is as long as what the Ardbeg was with that raw finish. The spice, it doesn't linger as long.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that bottle progresses down.
So my bottle of Blaaack is getting real close to empty.
Oh,
I'm enjoying it. I've clearly been enjoying it a lot.
Well, as I said, don't be sad it's over. Be happy it happened.
I know, it's true.
But yeah, I'm thinking this is going to even open up a little bit more. Oh, joy! Yay!
Oh, joy!
We're going through some drams, y'all.
Ardbeg joy.
Now comes the time of our broadcast where Jennifer goes crazy because the next dram is Ardbog. Ardbog! Stay tuned at the end of this video to see just why this is one of Jennifer's favorites. We'll talk a little bit about our time at the Islay Whisky Academy in touring Ardbeg. Let's get into Ardbog.
Let's know some Ardbog already. This one's getting harder and harder to find. This was 2013 committee release, and any of you that collect committee releases know that it's best to get them when they come out if you can, right? Like, I got mine on allocation a lot of years, and then the place where I get mine, the last 2 years, like, stopped allocating, and they just put them straight to shelf. People were walking out with, like, handfuls of bottles, and I was like, oh.
But I want one.
Just one. Just one.
Not greedy, I just want one.
But once they're gone, like, you can get them, you can buy them, like, auction, secondary market or whatever, but the price double, triples, et cetera, and
this is almost 10 years ago, so...
It is almost 10 years ago.
Right? So, needless to say, this is not an easy, hey, I'm going to go run to the Quick Mart and grab this bottle.
Quick Mart. Don't you wish there was a Quick Mart?
A Quick Mart that just had Ardbeg. Hell yeah.
And beef jerky.
You got some of them Ardbegs up in there?
Dear Buc-ee's, please start stocking Ardbeg.
Oh my gosh. I would live at Bayfort.
That would make Buc-ee's even cooler.
Gosh. Bucky Nuggets and Ardbeg.
Beaver Nuggets and Ardbeg.
Oh my gosh.
So this is, it's bourbon and also sherry cask finished Manzanilla, more specifically. So even within the family of sherry casks, like whether it's Fino, Manzanilla, Oloroso, right? Yeah, it can all give, I mean, it does impart different characteristics to the whiskey. So the Manzanilla gives it a little bit more dryness.
Yeah. I mean, that wine, if you drink that wine, and please, people, drink sherry so we can get more sherry casks for our whiskey.
Oh, I thought you meant drink sherry so you can, like, teach yourself better how a sherry cask finish tastes, but you're like, no, drink the sherry so we can get the casks for the whiskey.
Exactly. That's, I cut straight to the chase.
Maybe we should just buy let's just go buy a case of sherry.
Let's just go buy a bodega.
Let's buy a bodega.
We need to go get that lottery ticket. Oh, gosh. Y'all, we have so much fun. Can you tell? I hope y'all are enjoying this as much as we are. And if you're not, I'm really sorry because this is a lot of fun. What you getting on the nose for Ardbog?
I mean, I get kind of that nutty sherry profile.
And then I would, some sherry bombs, you get a lot, like a punch of the fruit flavors and
right.
Stewed raisins and all that. I'm not getting a lot of that.
Not this time
it's
around.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
It's there, but you've got the peat in the smoke. Mm-hmm. I think more a little ash.
Yeah. Let's also check just in case anyone wants to know. The Ardbog, this is bottled at 52.1%.
So that's our highest ABV yet.
I think it is, yeah.
And it still don't drink like 52.
Nope, don't need no water.
So yeah, I'm sure water would bloom it out, and maybe
absolutely
later after this I'll try some. But I want this.
I just want it
as they
don't spoil
threw
it
in the bottle. I'm getting the dry finish that I would expect.
Absolutely.
The sweetness is there, but again, it's not sherry bomb over the top.
Because like just a second ago, I nosed like one of the bourbon, and obviously the bourbon's gonna be sweeter, but like, yeah, just like go back and nose the bourbon cask. They're just like so sweet compared to this one.
Sweet like brown sugar sweet.
Yeah, even the 10, like maybe just I think like because for me what happens like, and maybe because I'm still like learning and trying to develop my palate even better, like that's why I love to try things in comparison. Because like we started with the bourbon cask, but now that we like tasted through a couple others, I go back to the bourbon, and it's just the bourbon character is that much more apparent.
Well, to me, a bourbon is your baseline. Mm-hmm. I mean, a Highland to me is the baseline of quintessential Scotch. Mm-hmm. And from there, I can go and look at wine cask or different, like the rye or different types of cask maturations to and effects to kind of get, but coming back to base on a bourbon is just that works for me.
By the way, when I took a drink, I accidentally put my pinky up, and that felt really snooty. Sorry, I didn't do that.
I do
on
it all the time. Like I'm like waving at people.
This is just delightful.
Ardbog is disappearing.
Hey,
it's disappearing.
Where'd your Ardbog go?
It's disappearing as fast as the dinosaurs did. Okay. And our final, we all gonna be drinking these, but our last.
Scorch.
So funny story about Scorch. Being from Louisiana, we get to we're at Ardbeg during the academy, and Ron's putting all these lovely drams in front of us that we'll talk about a little bit later. And from Louisiana, I'm like, surely there's an alligator somewhere, right? Right, Ron? Right? And he's like,
that
no.
would have been awesome if we could have tried
I really wanted that one. And that one was in heavily alligator charred barrels.
And they call it alligator because the pattern of the char is like it's alligator
just,
skin, yeah.
I mean, we got them out there in the Bayou right now, Chuck. And so I really wanted that one. And I totally understood. But he said in a couple of years, something related to alligator is going to be available. And I was like, well, thanks for that teaser and not telling me what it is. And what that is Scorch. Because Scorch actually uses the alligator casks for this expression.
Did I tell you that I got to the academy a day early and I stayed at the Bourbon Hotel? And I mean, Isla's a freaking playground for, Islay whiskey, because you just go to the Bourbon Hotel or the Lochside, right?
Yeah.
And just the variety of just general Islay bottles behind the bar. So I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm just going to treat myself. So I shelled out like, $50+ for one glass of alligator. But I was like, screw it. I'm here. I'm going to do it. So I totally had a glass of alligator. I had alligator the first night I got to Islay. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's like toasted marshmallows.
Yeah. I'm getting like almost like when you get a little bit of the ash on that too, which I think is a characteristic of Ardbeg overall. But that marshmallow got a little too hot and started flaming.
Like you're the kid at camp that leaves your marshmallow in the fire for too long and it gets all black.
And you have to like blow on it to put it out, and you get that crunchy, ashy outer shell.
There's always that kid that just lets their marshmallow just like go into complete total flame. Yeah.
Oh my word.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe you found a bottle of this. I could not get my hands on a bottle this year, so.
The
awesome.
the planets were aligned.
They were, or last year, I guess. It's now 2022, and this was 2021. So
This is slightly thinner mouthfeel than. Well, that would make sense because this is the second version.
it's the second bottling, so it's 46%.
It's 46.
And I didn't know that. I didn't understand what was going on at first, but I guess the initial committee release, and you can tell because it has like a little seal on it, right? And the initial committee release is bottled. They're usually 50 and up, right?
Yeah.
And then the second release, they add a little bit of water, so the second release comes out in like the mid 40s or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And that way more people can have it.
You can say that again.
There's definitely a sweetness on it I wasn't really expecting.
I mean, I'm assuming you're just getting the extra super toasties, the caramelization
Right.
and all that. To me, there's also just this good like firm medicinal grip on it still, though.
That is something that I struggled getting on a lot of Islas, to the point where I'm actually working through my nosing kit on identifying iodine in that Band-Aid and more of that medicinal.
For me, like Lefroy is just straight up Band-Aids.
Straight up Band-Aid. That should be.
That's a good thing. They're
really good about doing some funky advertising, and straight up Band-Aid would be a really good one. On the Scorch, I'm getting. I don't think I knew what to expect with that, other than, that really toasty, roasty kind of ash. And I'm surprised at the amount of sweetness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in that, and it's a little thinner mouthfeel, but it's very balanced for me. It's not it's not really smoky or ashy considering the casking, but I'm working this through my head, of course. A lot of the most egregious would have been used in alligator, would have come out of that within alligator, which is why it was called that. So I would imagine those casks have mellowed to an extent. But this is very balanced between the sweet, very dry finish.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I definitely noticed.
Wow. That's... Okay. This is like one of my very favorites of them.
I noticed that, and the Ardbog disappeared the fastest.
I know. Yeah, that in the 22. But that Pinot is just...
I love
Blaaack.
Yeah.
I'm not a big wine drinker, but when we do drink wine, it's Pinot Noir. And I really like the juiciness of it and the dryness at the end. And I get that very much off the nose of the Blaaack, without an overt amount of sweetness.
Yeah, I mean, that right now, like if I see a red wine cask finished wine, Scotch, I tend to go for it because I'm really, really loving wine cask Scotch right now.
So, like, one of my favorites is that 2008 Deanston Red Bordeaux.
I still haven't gotten to try that one.
Well, good luck finding one.
Yeah.
That is just a really lovely version. And then when it comes to the peated part, the long grow red, the Malbec, and then there's a couple of other that are just divine. They're just so well done.
I picked up a cask strength, like probably 62-63% Ardbeg at the distillery. That was a Barbaresco, so an Italian red wine finish. That thing was like eating a raspberry tart with like a crumbly, buttery, nutty crust. It was just so good.
And I think there's a time and place for everything. That's like, these are all whiskeys that have characteristics imparted, of course, by their maturation. I think there are some producers who it almost is like you've got wine with a little whiskey in it, and I think port is a big one that can fail fast on whiskeys.
Like a port finish?
A port finish that is just so overtly port that you really don't get the whiskey out of it. But,
As I'm smelling down the line, you know what nose is really jumping out? Like the rye.
Yeah?
Yeah, I went back to the rye. I was like, it's got a big nose on it.
This is a terribly hard job to do, but I'm so glad I'm able to do it for you all.
I do like the nose on this.
Our Ardbeg was our third, right? Yeah. Okay. I just keep going back to. I mean, Blaaack is just.
I know.
It's like a glass of wine.
Good.
Oh. And the manzanilla. So again, we're not hitting which one's best, but they all good. I ain't turning any of these down. And if I were you, I would not do that either. If you get a chance to drink any of these, jump on it, because I think they show, we're familiar with the 10, we're familiar with the baseline, and what these other expressions really show you is how they can play around with some things. Palates are very personal, so one person is going to like something more than they're going to like other, because it's totally based on their preference. These are not cheap whiskeys, even when they first come out. And the secondary release of it, like the 46% versions, are a little cheaper, but they're still up there. And for the most part, other than the 20-something, they're all NAS. So you're not going to know the breakout of the year and how old the whiskey is in this. They're going to do some magic. And a lot of people get hung up on not having a number of years on things. I also think the creativity should be allowed to the distiller to mix and move things around within an NAS expression to come up with what he or she really wants to put in that bottle. And I don't have a problem buying NAS non-age statement bottles. What I do want and what I expect out of my whiskey, for the most part, there's some exceptions, but for the most part, I don't want coloring in it and I don't want it to be chill filtered. But I also personally need an ABV that's 43 to 46 and up.
At least.
My palate is graduated from those 40s.
I can't go back
to where I just can't do it.
I can't go back to 40.
I was like, no. So, but anyway.
Also blending. I mean, blending needs to be respected, right? Okay, if you're buying a single cask whiskey, that's fine. But I mean, any other single malt you buy is still going to be a combination of other casks. And I mean, for them to taste all the individual casks and decide like what to marry together for what bottling, I mean, what an art that must be.
We're glad you were able to join us today. We had so much fun. I mean, this is a different type of video, but I really wanted to be able to share my friendship with Jen, with y'all, and to be able to go through these amazing whiskeys. Please, if you do have one of these, pour it along with us. Enjoy the time. And until the next time we have fun together. Sláinte y'all.
Sláinte y'all.
Getting to the Academy, and it was just such an unbelievable experience that everybody's heard me rave about it. But part of that was, finding a kindred soul that got it, that got that level of interest in the whiskey and what it imparts. And so going through that, I just want to declare to everybody, as if you couldn't figure it out because she brought so many of the committee releases, she is the Ardbeg fangirl. And
I love Ardbeg.
Ardbeg. Absolutely. So of the 5 days we were at the Academy, our last day ended at Ardbeg. And I want to just kind of share some of the thoughts and like what that day was for us.
It was like Christmas.
Christmas in October.
Exactly.
On Islay. It could get better.
All the distillery visits were amazing. Mm-hmm. We met with distillery owners, head distillers. We just got to taste some incredible stuff. So every single distillery experience was great. Ardbeg, I just feel like they went above and beyond, right?
It was red carpet.
It was red carpet. So, because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
So we get there, you know, we went to a warehouse, we tasted like some Renaissance, maybe something else. And then, you know, our guide just said that, you know, it was time for us to just go take a little walk or something like that.
Yeah, Ron, he's amazing. He was absolutely amazing.
So sweet. So we start walking the grounds. And I guess bit by bit, I realized, oh, this is a scavenger hunt, because he started dropping little clues. So we get to this grassy part of the courtyard, and there's a big dinosaur skull. And he starts kind of alluding to a whiskey. I immediately start freaking out, and I'm like, Leanne, I think it's Ardbog. Because if you see the packaging of the Ardbog, and like the box that it comes in, it's got little like dinosaur skulls and swords, like things you would dig up from a bog, right? So as he talked about this dinosaur skull, I'm like 99% sure that this is going to be an Ardbog, and he like pulls an Ardbog out of this dinosaur skull, and I'm like, ah! So I'm like freaking out. And so we started there, and then we the next stop was it was Dram, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were in the courtyard with the big mural.
Really beautiful little mural, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we got to have a little drum, which is not in the lineup, but rum cask finish, really nice committee release. And then quite possibly the most fun part of the scavenger hunt was we went down to the dock.
Yeah, to the end of the jetty.
Which I already knew. I figured it was Kelpie. Like, by that point, my brain's just freaking out, like, anticipating which one was going to be next.
Yeah.
So we get down to the dock, and you got to do the honor of pulling the lobster trap out of the water.
I did. Rachel was like, Leon, come down. And so I'm going down to the end of the jetty, and Ron says, here, you need to help me. And he hands me a rope at the end of this rock jetty looking over the water, you know, in the sea. And he's like, pull this, and I'm like pulling something out of the water, and it was a lobster trap with 2 lobsters and a bottle of Kelpie. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. Everybody's so happy. We get the Kelpie out, we turn around, and there are fresh shucked oysters on a bed of ice.
So pretty.
That we opened the Kelpie up and just poured a splash, had a glass of Kelpie.
Put a little couple dribbles on the oyster.
And just...
Which was just...
Hello. I mean, being from Louisiana, oysters are a really big thing down here, and we're kind of persnickety about those. It was delightful. It was just the whole package was amazing. It really was.
Kelpie's also my favorite committee release, so I was just absolutely in heaven by that point. But then we rounded out the little scavenger hunt. They had like the party bus parked in the courtyard, and that's where we had Grooves, which was at the 2018 committee release. Red wine cask finish. The Grooves is really great too, so we got to hang out on the party bus to wrap the whole thing up. But it was just such a wonderful day. I mean, Ron was amazing.
Yeah,
they just treated us so great, and it was just a special experience. What can I say?
Yeah. You know, it was neat because in 2019 they were just starting their new still house that was going to be able to double the production. And now to know that it's out there, and we've been talking all weekend, like how bad we want to go back and how bad we want to go see the new still house and see what has gone on and the changes to the island in just the 3 years that we haven't been there. So, but yeah, good memories, and I hope we all have the grace that we don't ever forget that, because
absolutely.
it was a really fun time.
Yeah.
We went through the entire academy during the day. We had great, the education and the experiences, and what we got to do was amazing. But the after drams were really something special, and where we would all kind of gather at the bar at the hotels, or at someone's house that they were staying in, and people just brought bottles and we shared. And that, the whole idea of this tasting even better when you're sharing it with somebody.
It's the fellowship.
It really is. It's community and the fellowship, as we all well know. And that made it even better.
Okay, so funny story. Can I tell a funny story?
Funny story.
So Ardbeg is now my favorite distillery. I went to Islay for the first time in 2017 with my dad. And he and I had never had Islay whiskey. But my dad had saw, was it 60 Seconds that did that special?
Yeah.
Okay, so he watched that 60 Seconds episode. And 60 Minutes, sorry.
60 Minutes.
Whatever, same if you know what I'm talking about. So he calls me and he's like, before I die, I want to visit the island of Islay. And I was like,
oh, man.
Let's make it happen, right? So, but, I mean, obviously, so I had a little bit of whiskey before that. I'm sure I had a Macallan or a Glenmorangie or something in a whiskey bar. That was the extent of my whiskey knowledge.
But you're very well versed in wine.
I am, but I mean,
But you have the palate.
Sure. I at least hope so.
Believe me, she does.
So we're talking about this. We're planning this trip, right? And I was like, well, Dad, there seems to be a really distinctive character about these whiskeys. Maybe we should taste one before we go, right?
Why not?
So we went to the local liquor store in Oklahoma City, and we bought an Ardbeg 10. We take it home, pop it open, and we were both like, what in the hell is this stuff? We're like,
was that a good what in the hell?
That was not a good what the hell.
That's a different thing.
So we looked at each other, we're like, we're gonna be on this island for a week. So we just seriously, we got on the plane, we were like, here goes nothing. So we get to Islay, and it took no time for us to fall in love with the whiskey.
Oh yeah.
And part of what happens is just the rhythm and the smell and just everything. Your senses are just fully engaged.
Well, and the environment that you're in, it's so rustic and raw, and
it's just the smoke coming out of the pagoda roofs. It's the little birds, like nipping at the barley that's spilled on the floor. It's the you can smell the kilns. You can go
smell
to
the ocean.
Floors. It's the ocean
and the
air.
brine coming in on the waves.
Yes. So when I smell, I mean, not just an Ardbeg, you can nose a Lafroig, Coley, Cahoman, whatever, but it's just, I just get that ocean air and I'm just transported back to Islay, and it's just, And also, so Ardbeg turned into my favorite distillery. So when we were there, we were eating lunch in the cafe, and that was in 2017. That's when the Kelpie just got released. And for me to taste my first salty whiskey, because the Kelpie has got a
it's pronounced,
very briny profile to it, I was just intrigued. After that, I fell in love, and I just never stopped buying Ardbeg Committee Releases after that. So
that's so awesome. And to be able to share that with your dad, that's just...
We had so much fun.
Oh my gosh. We're
a little bit of a novelty too, right? Like, you're like, oh, we see father and son duos in Scotland all the time, but we've never seen like father-daughter, bonding at distilleries. And I was like, well, this is...
Here we are.
Here we are. That's right.
Women like whiskey. What can we say?
Women do like whiskey. Should we tell them about our bacon from last night?
Yes. So we pre-gamed with a really nice lineup last night. You can check that out on Instagram, but I'll also talk about it in the description. But we ended the night with a very generous pour each of Killing a bottle of Kalila 30, thanks to my buddy Nate, who gave me the heel of that bottle that was absolutely divine. So
I don't know you, Nate, but I love you. Thank you.
Hey.
It was so good.
It was delightful, and to be able to share that with someone I knew that would really appreciate it was a really nice gift. So thank you, Nate, for that.
And thank you for sharing with me. You did not have a lot left, and the fact that you shared it with me, I was like, I'm not worthy.
No, it was perfect as it should be. And then we finished with a Blackadder version of Leche. And it was a 12-year-old, and it was quite divine. But I had happened to make bacon that day, so shout out to my buddies, Whiskey Crusaders, because having a stick of bacon along with that leche was off the charts. It was
the perfect pairing.
And it was about 2 a.m. too, so it
we needed
was
a
perfect.
Snack. We needed a snack, and the snack went so well with the whiskey, so
right.
Why not?
Perfect. So so no, it was a great way to start off the day. And we've been here at the camp with my husband Mark, and just kind of enjoying the day and sitting out at the dock and looking at the river and just chilling out. And so
ate some crawfish,
some shrimp, some boudin.
My hair kind of smells like it.
That's okay.
That's okay.
To embrace all of Louisiana is to be Louisiana. And we eat well here. What can I say?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had a really good day, and this is just, the icing on the cake to be able to go through these expressions